program to ASKIP, which is Alliance of Schools for Cooperative Insurance Program, which is a risk pool with all other schools to share resources and risks together. And this is an all-inclusive program, which includes the claims administration, as well as coverage all the way to the statutory limit, which is unlimited care for the injuries until the employee is able to return to work, and provide full coverage with no deductible. So with this new program, we have a new claims administrator, and there are some changes to the protocol. So today here with us is ASKIP representatives and also Athens program managers and claims adjuster. And we will be going over some program changes and explain to you about workers' compensation and responsibilities of managers. So let's get started with Nidra Kumadaras from ASKIP, Executive Director of Workers' Compensation. Take it away, Nidra.
Thank you, Tammy. Good morning, everybody. I see we've got a big crowd. So the purpose of this meeting is very informal. So ask questions. You can chat, and I'll be monitoring the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat. If you want to, please, it's very informal, blurt out your questions. So the more questions we have, I kind of, as a speaker, I know you're learning and understanding. So we want you to walk away today knowing a little bit about workers' comp and also the importance of a safety. So I just want to welcome you all. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you. And I hope you walk away with learning a little bit about workers' comp. With that, my name is Nidra Kumaradas. I oversee the workers' comp program at Alliance of Schools for Cooperative Insurance Program. As Tammy said, we are a joint powers authority, and our acronym is ASKIP. We've been working with you on your property and liability and other safety, and workers' comp just joined North Orange County Community College, just joined the workers' comp program starting on Thursday, 7/1/2021. So thank you. Thank you for trusting us with your workers' comp program. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jatine. Jatine, can you share the slides, please? So we do have a PowerPoint, and you can go to the next slide, Jatine. Thank you. And after this meeting, this document will be sent to you. So you will have this as a reference guide. Tammy is a great resource. Your risk department is a great resource for you. And I'm going to stress that a lot when I go through this training. So I know you got up this morning and said, oh, what is workers' comp? So I'm going to give you a very high level overview of workers' comp. So I don't know if you know, workers' comp is the oldest socialized system in the United States of America. So what that means is, any questions? It's the oldest socialized system in the United States of America. So what that means, in the early 1900s, we, as legislative, we passed, different states passed bills to make workers' comp a benefit system that's a no-fault system, and it's an exclusive remedy for the employee. So keep that in mind. It's no fault. So when an employee gets injured on the job, they're entitled to workers' compensation benefits. It's nobody's fault. As a result, it's an exclusive remedy, and it's only limited to work-related injuries, illnesses, or death as a result of your employment. And with that being a no-fault system, each state in the United States of America legislatively passes all the benefits that the employees do. So just like when, as educators, you follow ed code, we follow a thing called labor code. I'm holding this book up. I actually have an older book even, and you will see it increasing. So anytime we have to make changes to any benefits to the injured worker, it has to be done legislatively. So Tammy cannot make the change. I cannot make the change. Nobody, no employer can make the change. We follow exactly what the state of California tells us to do. With that, since it's a state mandated system, if employers do not have this system, the state of California can shut those employers down because it's state mandated. It is also state regulated. As a result, Athens, who is your new third-party administrator that handles the claims, they have to be licensed, and the state of California goes and audits them to make sure that they pay benefits accurately, timely, and there are fines and penalties assessed. So what do the benefits include on workers' comp? So if somebody walks in the job, I'm going to pick on myself. Nidra comes to work and I slip on my high heels. And I fell because of my shoes, not because North Orange County had any kind of a unsafe act. Because it's a no-fault system, it's work-related. Because I was working, I was on the job. So if I injured my ankle, the benefit, you have to pay everything to cure and relieve the effects of that ankle injury only. You don't have to heal it. So sometimes the injury could say, the doctors will say, we've done everything we can, so they've reached a permanent and stationary stage. You don't have to heal it, but we have to provide the benefits. And that's medical care, the 100% of the medical care. Wage loss. If I lose work because of that ankle injury, there is a thing called temporary disability, that's lost wages. And it's not a lot of money, it's capped, and it's 2/3 of an average weekly wage. Since you work for a public entity in the state of California, you have an ed code that trumps this, that overrules this. And then there's another benefit called permanent disability payments. This is because of that ankle injury, I cannot compete in the open labor market. So keep that in mind, because it's a state mandated system, all benefits are done. How do I compete in an open labor market? And there's a formula that the state gives us how we provide that benefit. And if I was a custodian at your district and I hurt my ankle, I need my ankle to do my job as a custodian. So that benefit might be a little higher for a custodian than for a professor. I'll just throw that out there. It's how much of that body part you need for that occupation to compete in the open labor market. The other one is we give up to $6,000. The states will say to give up to $6,000 to get retrained. If you cannot go back to that job because of that injury, it's up to $6,000, and that $6,000 goes to accredited school. And I think North Orange County is accredited school in the state that I can go and enhance my, my education. And the other one is death benefits. Death benefits are only paid to dependents and minors. So if once a minor reaches 18 and they've lost a parent, there's no other benefit to them. It's all paid by the employer. And as Tammy said, North Orange County Community College was self-funded because you're a public sector. Normally, if you're a private sector, you go and you buy your insurance through the insurance market. But because you're a public sector, you can self-fund. That means your own money. And currently, you were self-funded. And 7-1, you joined ASCIP. We are also self-funded. We're a public sector. And in the state of California, we're self-funded. You're in a pool of other community colleges that help each other. So it's the same kind of theory, but you're in a bigger pool. We have outsourced the claims to be handled by Athens administrators. And starting July 1, this is a change. You will be moving from Hazelrig TriStar to Athens administrators. Now, keep in mind, all you're doing is you're moving the name of the claims handler. The benefits are still the same. So if I was a claims adjuster and I worked at Athens, or I worked at TriStar or Hazelrig, I still have to follow the same labor code that the state says. So the benefits, there won't be any change to the benefits. We kind of enhanced a little bit of the services, but no change in the benefits since we follow a state mandated system. Next slide, Jatine. Before I go, is there any questions? No. Next slide, Jatine. Thank you. So what are the responsibilities? This is like I call it a wheel or a pie, whatever you call. So North Orange County Community College District must provide workers' comp coverage. That's law. Also, they should report all injuries timely to Athens administrator. And we're going to go over this process with you. And throughout that claim, I think it's very helpful if the supervisor kind of keeps in touch with the employee. There's a little bit of a stigma out there. I worked in this industry for over 30 years, and there's a little bit of stigma that if somebody gets injured at the job, they feel that, you know, there's a little stigma out there. So my advice and help to everybody is talk to the employees, see how they're doing. You'll be shocked how quickly they recover. Okay, and the goal here is to get your employees recovered and back to work and functioning. The other one is the employee's role is to report your injuries timely. If they get injured on the job at North Orange County, they should report that injury, even if it's a minor one and they don't need medical treatment, because the goal, and Chuck Clementi is going to go over, we want to go and fix what caused that injury before a second or a third person get hurt, right? So sometimes you will have one person gets cut on a little cabinet, we ignore it, the second person comes, gets cut, the third person comes, gets cut, bleeds, rush to hospital, you don't know that person could be diabetic. So that's where we want to get safety involved right away. The employee receives the benefits that the state of California advises to provide. They participate in medical treatment in the claim process, and they return to work. That's our goal. And that's also North Orange County Community College's goal too. What does ASCIP do? ASCIP is we work with risk management on a lot of the safety issues and the risk management issues to help you. Again, we don't want anybody seriously injured while working for you. The goal is to keep your employees safe. And the other thing that ASCIP does, we oversee the workers' comp program that Athens handles. We work with Tammy and we oversee, and Rosalind, and we oversee the workers' comp program that Athens, but we outsource for Athens to handle. And then there are other parties in this claim. There are medical providers, there are investigators, because it's a socialized system. There is some abuse of the system. So that's the other reason we encourage safety, because we want you to investigate the claim, because the employees, if anybody abuses the system and they know you're investigating the claim, they'll think twice about doing that. There are attorneys involved. Even though it's a state mandated system, you do not need an attorney for this system. But there is a form for everything because it's state mandated. The letters are hard to read. They run to an attorney for help. And then there are return to work specialists. We encourage you to take every employee back to work so they can rehab and come back to their regular job. Any questions? Now I'm going to the next slide, team. I'm going to turn this over to Jennifer Vanderford. She's the claims supervisor at Athens. Take it away, Jennifer. Thank you.
Everyone. So as Nidra said, I'm the claims supervisor here at Athens, and we're going to be handling your workers' compensation claims as of July 1st. Also from Athens, we have Sunny White, who's division manager, and Tom Troxler, who is your senior claims examiner on the call today. So Sean and I are going to be presenting the procedures, forms, and posters. Next slide, please. So as the management team, it is imperative for you to report work-related injuries within 24 hours of knowledge to your risk management department. There is actually a different requirement under Cal OSHA, and Chuck Clementi will be touching on that a little bit later. But your knowledge of a work-related injury triggers the state's timeframes for us here at Athens to address any benefits that are due and payable. The state requires us to administer benefits within 14 days of knowledge of the injury, or penalties and fines will be assessed, as Nidra had mentioned earlier. Your knowledge date counts as our knowledge date, so we do ask that you take immediate action once you're aware of the injury. If you can't report immediately, please try to get this done no later than 24 hours so that we can make sure we're avoiding any fines and penalties, and also make sure that your employees are getting their benefits timely and there's no lapse in medical treatment if they really need the attention. Please also note that an injury is usually reported to the district by the injured worker themselves. However, there's also several other ways that these could be reported. Some examples being a medical provider. If an employee becomes represented, their attorney may report a claim to us, a member of the injured worker's family, or even another coworker or witness who happened to be present at the time of injury. They may come to you and let you know that something happened. Any of those can count as the knowledge date and the first report of injury. And if you're ever in a situation where something comes up and you're not sure if it counts as an injury being reported, just either reach out to us at Athens or reach out to ASCIP, and we can definitely assist you with any questions and walk you through the reporting process. We just really want to make sure that there's no delay in getting any benefits to your injured workers so that we do remain in compliance with the state. Does anyone have any questions about any of that? Okay, well then I'm going to turn it over to Sean Potter, who is the Workers' Compensation Program Manager at Alliance of Schools for Cooperative Insurance Programs, to go forward with the next slides.
Jennifer, thank you. That was really well said there. A good explanation of where knowledge of an injury comes from. So once you have a report of injury, I'm going to be talking about a new step in the process, a very important step, and actually one of my favorite steps. It is by having your employee call an organization known as Company Nurse. And essentially, Company Nurse is a triage service that is provided by a medical professional, a registered nurse. So I'm going to be giving you a quick overview of what they're all about and then talking in more detail about the process. Now, triage is something that you may be familiar with. If you go to the emergency room, patients are triaged in terms of medical severity before they are treated at the emergency room. Another form of telephonic triage that you may be familiar with is anytime that you use telemedicine. And by that, I'm talking about if you're ill, say you have Kaiser as your benefits, and you pick up the phone and call Kaiser instead of dragging your self over to the doctor's office. Many of us have had that experience, and it can be a very positive experience when looking at the alternative of having to go out and about. So Company Nurse is a very similar concept in terms of triage. Go ahead and go to the next slide. I'm going to talk about the process. So basically you have, you guys, a couple things to keep in mind. If it is a very serious injury, you want to make sure that you call 911 and make sure that the injury is addressed in that manner. Where if someone has a, say for example, a serious fracture, we are not suggesting that you have to call Company Nurse beforehand. Take care of it as the emergency that it is. And then a supervisor can actually call Company Nurse later. There's two reasons why you might do that. Reason number one is because it starts the claim process for the risk management department. The Company Nurse report becomes the basis for the first report that is filed with Athens. The second reason is after treatment is rendered at an emergency room, there needs to be follow-up care. And follow-up care is still able to be directed by the employer. This is your right as an employer, having a viable work comp program. So by calling Company Nurse, you can at least get some follow-up information, because as we know, emergency rooms do not see people repeatedly for the same incident. Jennifer mentioned, and I'm going to mention the same thing, that there, if it is serious, there are Cal OSHA requirements, and that will be addressed further by Chuck in a few moments. So for routine injuries, basically you give your employee the 800 number, or I should say the 888 number that's listed there. You have what's known as the search code, NOCCCD. Easy to remember. And the purpose of that is when your employee calls company nurse, there is an intake specialist who begins to call and takes in information. When your employee is able to use that search code, it enables that specialist to pull up some basic information about the district, which will shorten the length of time that they're on the phone. However, keep in mind, if you don't have the search code, if your employee doesn't know it, they can still take care of the employee without it. So basically, when the nurse gets on the line after the intake is done, there's a discussion with the employee, and details are shared about the injury, the severity, etc. And a determination will be made. There are times when it may be necessary. A company nurse, they may say, you really need emergency care for whatever reason it might be. There also could be a referral to what we call the frontline provider. That might be a more familiar term, might be quote unquote company doctor that you've used in the past. The frontline provider would be someone such as, or a group such as Concentra, Health Point, Southern California Immediate Medical Centers, or Health First. Those are all designated frontline providers for your program. And there's no change with those. Those are the ones that you had in the past. Lastly, and this is my favorite part about the company nurse, the employee might be directed towards self-care. Why would that happen? Well, the injury severity may be such that they're able to treat themselves on their own. Not every situation, not every injury requires active medical treatment with a medical doctor. So self-care can be indicated. And what we see throughout ASCIP is over 45% of all calls made to company nurse, of all incidents, result in self-care. What's important about that is those incidents do not become claims. And that's a benefit for the entire program and for the district. Keep in mind, if self-care is indicated, your employee still can say, no, I need to see a doctor. They can insist and they will be directed to a doctor. There has to be some buy-in there for self-care to be indicated. Additionally, self-care might be indicated. Your employee may go home and deal with it and then come back the next day, the next week, several weeks down the road and say, you know, self-care isn't working for me. I really feel like I need to see a doctor for reasons X, Y, and Z. They call back company nurse and that referral is made. So there's a lot of flexibility in the program. The employee has a lot of say in terms of what happens. One final note on the triage process is that sometimes things will be shared with the nurse at company nurse that you may not be privy to as the employer. An example might be a non-industrial condition such as diabetes, where you might say, why in the heck was this individual referred to a doctor for a simple cut? Where behind the scenes, they know that because of the diabetic condition, there may be an issue with healing, and then that requires medical attention over and above self-care. So, be patient if something doesn't quite seem or as it would appear, but rest assured that the medical professionals on the other end are handling this in the right way. A couple final points on this part of the process. You may have heard of pre-designation. That is an option given to employees upon hire. Pre-designation of a personal physician to handle a workers' compensation injury. This has to be not only on file with the district to be valid, it also has to be agreed upon by the doctor. And this is all on the pre-designation form. Company nurse will have that pre-designation list, and they will be able to verify directly with the employee if there is a valid pre-designation on file, and then permit that visit accordingly. The other point I want to make is, this is actually, it was mentioned on the previous slide and I kind of skipped over it, and that is company nurse takes a burden off of your campus health centers in terms of the first stop for an injured employee. Campus Health used to do a triage type service. The company nurse is now taking that over, and company nurse is 24/7. So that is an advantage as well of company nurse. One important area where Campus Health will maintain involvement is for your student nursing interns who may sustain like a needle stick type injury. Those individuals can be seen or should be seen at Campus Health and are not required to call a company nurse. I went over a lot of information to this point. Are there any questions thus far?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
At the very top, it says contact district office immediately and do not call company nurse. So we're just supposed to call and they will instruct us to then call company nurse, right?
You know what? I'm gonna apologize. You were kind of breaking up a little bit during that question.
Sorry, I'll put it in chat.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't get the whole thing.
Go ahead.
I didn't see who asked that question, but I think it's important that when you're specifically talking about life-threatening injuries, and that's when you don't want to go through the company nurse, you want to call 911 and get emergency, get the ambulance out there and get emergency services. So that's why we also need to know at the district. So, you know, one of the things I'm hoping that people walk away, this is a little bit more knowledge. And in any situation, regardless of who it is, an employee, a student, a visitor, whatever, if we ever see a serious injury, do not hesitate to call 911. We will cover the cost of the ambulance service and making sure it's better to try to deal with these issues. So if nothing else, just remember that piece.
Excellent point.
Absolutely correct. We're not doctors, so call 911. Even if you feel, Summer, if you want to put it in chat or say it again. So any serious, if you think it's serious, you call 911 and immediately call risk management. Risk management is the hub of this program. So you will go to Tammy or Rosalind immediately. We will be working around Tammy and Rosalind. And don't worry about company nurse. Don't get so technical. Worry about company nurse. If it's not a serious injury and it's not a student nurse with the needle stick, you will have the employee. Tammy is going to send out stickers and little cards. You will have the employee to call this nurse triage service called company nurse. That's 24/7. Did I answer that question, Sama?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's the change. And it's really, sorry, go ahead, Tammy.
I'd like to also mention that this does not bypass the campus protocol to call campus safety.
Yep. So this is an added thing to the current protocols. Any questions on that? So it's a pretty good service as you go through. It's something new. So we are asking for your help to help the employees along. The positive thing about this is the employee will be comfortable to talk to a non-employee. Am I saying it right? Will be comfortable to talk to a non-employer person. They're talking to somebody that's kept very confidential. So that the employees will like, and they open up a lot with their pre-existing problems. The second thing is that is going to be a little bit of an obstacle. It's a new process. So don't get so, if you forget to call company nurse, don't worry about it. We will still have the claim. We will go back, go to Tammy, and then we'll remind each other and we will start the process, will work well. So it's just a change.
So basically this process replaces the current process of referring our employees to our campus health centers.
Absolutely. Jean, can you turn to page 8, please? All righty. So this goes a little bit deeper into the process. I'm just going to run through it quickly. If the employee does not want to call a company nurse and refuses medical care, or if company nurse indicates self-care, there are still a couple forms to complete. Number one, the district has a refuse of medical treatment form. Number two, there's a manager injury form, injury report that needs to be completed, even if it's minor, and Chuck will touch upon this in a moment. That's important to complete. There's the employee account of injury, and then those three forms are submitted to the risk management department. If there is medical treatment indicated, there are a few more forms that are required. You provide the employee with information about the work comp claim process. They fill out the injury, the employee's account of injury form. You give them the company nurse contact information. There's a state form known as the Workers' Compensation Claims Form, the DWC-1. That's very important. That's required within 1 business day or 24 hours. Go ahead and go to the next slide. You have information regarding your medical provider network that you have to provide. You have a first fill prescription flyer that enables your employee to get their first prescription, if indicated by the physician, at no charge and without having to worry about authorization from Athens. It's a very good benefit for the employee. There's no out-of-pocket cost. A medical release is in the packet. And finally, there is a work comp information and forms distribution confirmation. And you provide this only if you're giving the information in person rather than online. As the supervisor or manager, the manager's report of injury is completed and provided to risk management. All of these forms are submitted to risk management. In turn, the risk management office will complete the initial report of occupational injury or illness, also known as Form 5020. That is done online and submitted directly to Athens. And finally, all of the forms that have been submitted to risk management will be passed through over to Athens. Any questions?
No question, Sean, but I just want to throw in, I know you don't like, I know I can't speak for all. I know you're probably saying, oh my gosh, forms. Most of these forms you are currently using. The only difference will be that it will have Athens name. So keep that in mind. Most of these forms you have been using them, and some of these forms are state mandated. If you don't use the form, and they audit the third-party administrator Athens, and they don't see that form, they put a penalty on them. And then Athens comes back to the district. That's because of the state system. So when we go over the forms, I want to say, Sean, is there any change in forms for them that they're currently using?
Major change would be the addition of the MPN handout, because there is now a medical provider network. So that is a state mandated handout that is provided to the employees. And that will be added to the website.
So Nidra, just a comment in terms of, it's really important that the manager fill out this injury illness incident report and kind of look at it from this perspective. If another individual gets injured for the same injury and the manager did not report, you are personally liable as a manager for not reporting that, and there's nothing I can do to help you in terms of that. So this is an important aspect of being a manager. If we're all responsible for the safety of people around us, and so if you fail to do this, you could be personally fined by OSHA. You could go to jail. I've seen articles. Fortunately, we have never got into that situation, but it's real important that you make sure you report, and so the issues can be resolved immediately.
Absolutely. And that manager's injury illness incident report is what you currently use. Cal OSHA wants every incident investigated. So as Mr. Williams mentioned, if they come in and you haven't done it, there will be fines and penalties. So, and let me tell you, one of the reasons I asked Tammy wanted this training is Cal OSHA is a rising majorly during COVID. Cal OSHA is all over. So I don't want to scare anybody. I just want to stress the importance and also to throw out there, it's state required. It's also safety of employees. And I think it's also do. So just the employees like when you go out there and you're investigating claim, they're going, oh, wow, the person cares for me. And the one that wants to abuse the system, they're going to think twice about doing that because they know that employer has a very good Cal OSHA investigation form that they follow. I just want to throw that out there. Thanks, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Jatine, next slide, please. I'm going to go ahead and conclude my discussion just by briefly reviewing. These are all existing aspects of your program instructions. And I'm going to add emphasis to the points regarding temporary disability and return to work. Disability management is a really important part of your work comp program, and it can affect cost in many ways, not just on disability dollars that might be paid out. There's a ripple effect into every other benefit within the work comp program, such as medical, even legal, for example, where if people feel abandoned, sometimes they run out and get attorneys, even if they don't need one. So that is an area where it's very important to partner with your risk management office and communicate every step of the way. You get a new doctor's note from the employee that maybe has some different restrictions. Discuss on how to accommodate them or how to address it, how to interact. And that'll serve your program well. So,
Sean, can we get under that first bullet? Our district is fairly unique in that we have a significant number of CTE programs and we cover interns when we place them. So I think it would be beneficial to add that in. We also cover volunteers that are approved by the board. So I don't want them to fall off the list as well. We need to report those for those type of injuries as well.
Correct.
yes, Absolutely. Good point. And basically, I guess the point I want to make here is that the report of a injury is important no matter who it happens to. And we're talking about the work-related, and you're correct in bringing in the volunteers and the interns. But risk management is not limited to just workers' compensation. There could be other injuries that happen on campus as well. So excellent point there.
But just to attack on it, the board passed a the board has a volunteer resolution that if an approved volunteer for the district is injured while doing a volunteer duty for the district, they are covered under workers' comp. They cannot sue the North Orange County for under the liability for negligence. They're covered under workers' comp because workers' comp is a control benefit. I have worked in it over 30 years and nobody has got $1 million. I just want to throw it out there. I've had death claims, I've had brain injuries, and nobody has got $1 million. I've seen more people go broke over this system. And the other one, as Fred noticed, is we touched on the nursing students. There are student interns under Ed Code that are covered under workers' comp. And then your contracts, you might have a contract that says, I'm bringing some intern in here and I'm going to cover the work comp. So read that. They become employees of North Orange County Community College.
Slide, please.
Could I ask a follow-up question related to volunteers?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Martha Gutierrez, and we have third-party partners like Pathways of Hope, who also have their own volunteers to help run our food pantry. So how does this apply to volunteers or the contracts that we have with a third-party person or agency like Pathways of Hope?
So Nidja, let me take a first stab at that. we would have a contract with Pathways of Hope, and in that contract, it would require that they cover their employees under workers' compensation. So unless we are approving the volunteer, they're working for us but since we are paying a third party, they are required, they're employers just like we're employers and required to follow the same requirements that we're required to follow.
That's correct,
Does that help?
Martha. That's what Mr. Williams is saying is correct. Read the contract. Now, and I'm listening to your question. If they are volunteers of Pathway, they're technically part of Pathway. Pathway is bringing that group in. They're not your volunteers of North Orange County, right? I'm giving you, they were not approved by you as a volunteer. They came through Pathway. So you need to read the Pathway contract. And if Pathway brings a volunteer or an employee, it is covered, and the contract reads that they cover the employee under workers' comp, then it goes to Pathway. Because they're an employer. And remember at the beginning, I said, every employer in the state of California has to have workers' comp. I worked for the private sector for 15 years, and I saw more small companies shut down because they didn't have workers' comp.
You can have them after.
So keep that in mind. Did I answer your question, Martha? I'm looking at you.
Yes, and then in addition, for the incident reports,
After 12 if you want.
if there is a volunteer,
For you.
Somebody's needs to mute. I can hear some conversation.
I mean, at 10, from 10 to 11 and 11 to 12.
Okay, there, she muted. That was Jeanette, Martha. You can unmute it now.
thank you. So then for just the incident reporting, then if an injury happens on our site with a Pathways of Hope volunteer, we would still, contact campus safety to take an incident report. But we would we need to do the manager's report as well?
Tammy, if you want to take this, Tammy?
I'm sorry, I was texting somebody back. Martha, could you repeat your question one more time? Sorry.
Just in relation to incident reports. So
Yeah.
let's say an employee of Pathways of Hope or a volunteer Pathways of Hope has an injury on our site. What would be the incident report protocol? In addition to contacting campus safety and doing an incident report, would we also do a manager's injury report, a separate incident report?
No, they're employees of Pathway, so I'm sure their employer would need have their incident report protocol for their employees.
Martha, we should have a security report because then it potentially runs into a different level of insurance and it becomes a potential liability claim. So we need to have an investigation by campus safety in terms of what actually happened. So then it kind of moves into a different arena. There's a lot of different paths for the insurance type coverages, and that kind of moves into a different layer.
Thank
So
you.
that's the campus protocol. Anytime an injury occurs on campuses, the campus safety officers respond and they complete a report and investigation regarding that incident.
Thank you.
Tammy, there are questions on the chat.
I know that's what I was trying to text before I lost Martha's question. So I'm going to, I'll just, the
You
instructions.
can talk
and all
this
the-
offline.
Yeah, I'll just tell everyone. The instructions and all the forms are posted in the district website. Under the risk management department tab, you can go to under departments tab, you will find workers' comp. If you click on there, you will see risk management. Also, if you tab over to employee, at the bottom of the tab, you will see workers' compensation. So there's two ways to find the documents on this website, as well as under My Gateway, district forms, risk management, and workers' comp folder will have all of these forms. They're there. We're just going to switch out to the new instructions at the end of tomorrow so that it will be effective as of July 1st. Protocol for calling company nurse is new, and we didn't want people to be calling company nurse now because they're not effective as of today. It will be as of July 1st.
Thank you so much, Tammy.
And Sean and Chuck, we have 15 more minutes. Tammy, do we have a little bit over 10 o'clock? Can we go a little bit over 10 o'clock?
I'm okay. I don't know about the participants.
We'll take your questions back. We're going to make a copy of your questions in regards to the portal, and we'll get back to you on that.
And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jennifer Vanderford, I'm supervisor with Athens, who's going to cover your required posters.
Thank you, Sean. Just to kind of wrap up the posting section here, you currently have a state mandated poster already up called the DWC7. That poster is not changing, but risk management is sending out a new sticker for you guys to put on the DWC7, which will have the updated contact information for both Athens and your medical provider network. If you have not received your stickers already, you guys should be receiving them soon. Please be sure once you receive them that the new stickers are added to the posters by July 1st. In addition to that, you will also receive new medical provider network, company nurse, and fraud posters. So please make sure that all of those are visible to your employees.
Ow.
Any questions on the postings?
I have a question.
Yes?
Who are these being sent out? The district will be sending them out to us, but are they going to the managers, or who are they? Is it going to campus safety and then campus safety will disperse it? How's it going to be handed out?
Rosalind has sent the stickers out to the campuses. I believe they mainly went to the facilities department, but you can contact facilities department for the stickers if you would like to post it. The poster, the DWC mandatory posting, the sticker replacement is being taken care of by the campus facilities department. So you don't need to worry about that.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chuck Clementi. He's the Senior Risk Services Consultant at Alliance for Schools Cooperative Insurance Programs and also works closely with Tammy.
Great, thank you very much, and welcome. Good morning, everybody. This is going to be a part of the program you probably are aware of, already know about, but we kind of want to give you a refresher about the importance of having this program in place and all the different elements of it, and the reason behind it. But you are all crucial elements of this program. You're all partners in this whole process, and what you do with your accident investigations goes a long way to help the whole district and everybody else. You're a big team, and this is a crucial element to try and prevent injuries. And this all stems, and it's been mentioned before, from the Cal OSHA Department of Industrial Relations. And we have the obligation as an employer to provide a healthy and safe work environment. And under the injury and illness prevention program that your district has, it also has the element of having an investigation for accidents or injuries that may occur on the work site. So we're kind of going to go through a little bit on how you can go through the process. Excuse me. Now, accidents are really simply unplanned. They're undesired events that results in some harm or damage or injuries. And what we're trying to do is prevent those. And each accident really should be treated as a learning opportunity to figure out what's going on, that root cause. So our reasons to investigate it really to focus on the safety, but we're trying to create that culture of safety to keep employees safe and remind people all the time for wherever whether in their classroom, whether they're a maintenance employee, administrator, or so on, there's issues everywhere that we need to address. You want to make sure that we're looking at a couple different things like unsafe conditions or unsafe behaviors and all the different activities that can come to and contribute to an injury. And so we're going to focus on that root cause. What was the root cause of that accident? We're also, hopefully, when we do this investigation, it's going to promote and improve our current work practices. So procedures may change, and we may figure a better way to do something. and a safer way to do it. We're trying to prevent those similar accidents from occurring or reoccurring, and we're trying to make sure that we can keep the costs down. It's very important, as we are self-insured, that the more money we can save, the more we can do for ourselves. So in regards to everything though, we're still under the umbrella of Cal OSHA. So we have that regulatory environment and we still have to comply with them. So when it comes to an accident, we are required to provide that workplace. And we have to remember that if there is a serious injury or illness or fatality, that has to be reported to Cal OSHA directly within 8 hours. And when I talk about, what's a serious injury or illness, it's in regards to if there's an inpatient hospitalization, regardless of the length of time for any other medical observations or diagnostic testing, or if there's an amputation of a body part, if there's loss of an eye, or if there's a serious degree of permanent disfigurement. So those are all serious conditions, as well as a fatality. And those have to be reported directly to Cal OSHA. It can be online, or it can be email, or it can be on a phone number. So that's very important to do that. If we don't, there are serious fines available, or that we may have to pay if we do not do that in time. And also, Cal OSHA is going to investigate serious injuries and illnesses, and we'll talk about that in a sec. So the district should really conduct their own investigations. Yes.
So Chuck, that this is the importance of immediately reporting a serious, if you call 911 or a serious injury, to risk management. This has to be reported immediately, because then risk management reports to Cal OSHA within 8 hours.
Exactly.
Am I correct, Tammy? So that's why the importance of reporting serious injuries to risk management.
Right.
That is correct. The risk management office will be reporting to OSHA. So
Yep.
immediately notify us. And if it's after hours, you can reach me by cell phone and I will notify OSHA.
And just for you to know also, if an ambulance comes in and takes an employee from a place of employment, they call Cal OSHA. So you see the importance. They will call Cal OSHA. And Cal OSHA is waiting for the employer to call. So if risk management doesn't know, it won't call. There's a question here from Dan. Thank you, Dan. Are you saying that ASCIP is now going to investigate every incident? I'm not sure how this is changing. Chuck?
Yeah, no, it's up to you. It's up to the district to still consider and to still do these accident investigations. It's you're there, you're the employees, your employees have to be interviewed and so on. We're going to talk about the process, but it's crucial for you to do the accident investigation as soon as possible after the incident. And that has to be done on site. That's something that we don't do. It's something that's important. And that's why we're talking about it today. Okay. Next slide. So as we initiate the investigation, it's real important to remember who you are and who you're talking with and who you're helping out. Again, as you're all partners, it's important as an investigator to remain calm, to be somebody who's has the ability to look at the facts and base everything on the facts, and kind of being, I'm going to date myself. So remember the Dragnet, the series, that Joe, be a Joe Friday, be just cool and just say just the facts. You're just looking for that. You may seem a little cool, but you're there to focus on all the details of the accident, to pull everything together to find the root cause. So you're going to show concern, of course, for your injured employees' well-being. It's very important. People start to heal the moment they feel being heard. So compassion is very important. So a compassionate listener is a great quality for an investigator. And you're going to go a thorough review, and you're going to start thinking about all these different questions, whether depending on what happened in the situation. So next slide. So we have about 4 different steps here to go through the accident investigation process. And we're really looking at, as if there's an accident or a failure, what has happened? Is it because of a human error? Has it been done from environmental conditions? Was it raining out and somebody slipped? or was there a spill that somebody else created that didn't clean up? Was it a misuse of machinery or equipment breakdown? So all these things could possibly happen, and we got to find out the facts of the situations. So you're going to define, someone who told you or wrote to you what had happened. You need a defining statement. You'll need a definition of the facts. So, a fact is something that's known or proven to be true, and the truth about the events as opposed to interpretation. So you're really looking at the facts. And then, of course, the 6 W's, we talk about who, what, when, why, where, and how. And you're going to try and find out all those different questions that you're going to be doing throughout the process. You're going to collect physical evidence too. So it's important to have the right tools as well. So investigators should have maybe a camera, a flashlight, maybe a voice recorder. They may be having barrier tape, containers to hold something that may have broken or pieces. So you're going to be having a little kit too, or you're going to at least be aware that you may have to come to an accident investigation with some other tools to help the process. And then you're going to interview the employee. It's very important to interview the employee and the witnesses, and you're going to do them separately. Make sure that you don't have them together. You're going to put the employee and witnesses at ease, telling them and reassuring them, we're not here to find fault, we're here to find the facts and to prevent somebody else from getting injured. We don't want that. There's human suffering here, and we want to make sure that somebody else doesn't get hurt. You're going to also interview them at the location. It's best to try and do it at the site of the incident so they can describe and show you in detail what exactly happened if they're the witness or the employee that had the accident. Ask open-ended questions. Try not to ask questions that are just primarily yes or no questions. Repeat the facts that they've provided to you as well, so you can understand them and assures that you have the right understanding of what the employee or the witnesses is telling you. And again, very important, end on a positive note. It's a great, it's a tough situation for the accident, maybe even the person who witnessed a serious injury. That's very traumatic. And so having that, again, that compassion to your fellow colleagues is very important. Next slide. Here's your form, your manager's injury and illness incident report form. And we're not going to have time to go through all of this, but you may be also having separate sheets of paper to write extra notes and so on. So it's always good to have as much detail as possible. So don't shy away from just trying to fill in only those parts of the form. Use extra pieces of paper, the back, and more detail is always positive and always will help you in trying to correct the situation after. Next slide. So the next step though, as you evaluate the facts, your goal really here is to identify whatever indirect and direct root causes behind the injury. The direct root cause, the slip, trip, and fall, maybe it was a puddle, but was the indirect cause that you were maybe distracted, or you were carrying boxes and you weren't able to fully see the wet spot in front of you as you were walking. So it could be a combination. All information is going to be evaluated, and hopefully as we do this, we'll find out, hey, I can see what the corrective actions can be. So you're going to be writing those down as well. Documentation in step 3 is very important, as if you fill out the forms and so on. Your confidential district incident investigation report, that should be completed within 8 hours or as soon as possible. We try and say that because your details in your memory, over time, you'll lose those details, and it's very crucial for the investigation itself. So as soon as you can do it, and within that 8 hours, we'd like to see you have that done. The last step 4 is really to implement corrective actions. So you found out maybe what the facts are. We found out maybe what the root cause is. And so if it's been a human behavior issue, somebody just did something, an unsafe behavior, you can provide the necessary training. Maybe they didn't have training before, or maybe they need refresher training. So that's important for us. Where they skip, we will work with the district and Tammy to guide you and say, okay, yeah, there was a training issue that was missed. We need to we have a teachable moment. Let's do that. And then you want to make sure that you have a root cause of maybe an engineering issue related. Maybe we want to remove or eliminate the hazard. Maybe it's a faulty piece of equipment. Maybe we have to change something out to a safer piece of equipment. Maybe we have to change that. And if the hazard cannot be eliminated, well, is there mitigation measures that can be implemented? Is there something at least to reduce it or control it in another way? And we'll look at that as well. So there could be multiple corrective actions depending on each incident. It could be a combination of these, so keep that in mind. Next slide. And guidelines for Cal OSHA inspections. So if there is a serious injury, then Cal OSHA inspector will most likely come onto your site. You'll need to find somebody who's going to be the contact person to walk that person through to the facility, to the accident location. You need to have somebody identified that in that respect. Your Cal OSHA compliance officer, the inspector, what will they do when visiting the district site? Well, they're going to come on. You want to make sure that you get their business card and maybe ask them questions in regards to say maybe what's the reason for the visit? Are they there for a complaint or they are there for an accident investigation and so on? It's important to ask that. So your site administrators or designees are going to be responsible for greeting this inspector and escorting them to the inspection location. Your risk management partner is very important to be a part of that though. They also should be contacted immediately once you find out that the inspector's on site. Okay, so contact Tammy. Use the most direct and least hazardous path when escorting to the inspection location. So don't go through close to a construction site or someone. Just try and get them to the site, to the most direct area. And then what actions should be taken during the inspection? Just be a good listener, take notes. If they take notes of the questions that are asked, so you can follow up with that if they're asking about a certain program or a certain piece of machinery. What they may also ask of you is be aware that they may ask for your injury and illness prevention program. So they want to maybe see a written copy or maybe your Cal OSHA logs. So have the ability, once risk management's contacted, we'll most likely get that for you. But those are going to kind of be the things they're going to be asking for. And just keep aware of it. If they are interviewing a witness, ask to see if you can be there during the interview. If not, then you may not be able to be there, but always ask if you can. And what actions can be taken during the inspection? You're just, like I said, it's going to be very observant. And then opening conferences is they're going to tell you what they're going to be looking for. And at the end, the inspector will maybe tell you about some possible violations if they found any, and next steps and actions to take. So it's very important to again, understand all the processes. So
Chuck, it's
yes.
probably the most important thing is if Cal OSHA inspector shows up there, I'm going to ask the question, and I'll answer it for you. The first person you call is risk management.
Yes.
That's who you call right away. And there might be some mitigation of it. So, and then if the person insists, these are some of the things that we are giving you some guidance, but immediately call risk management, because risk management can assist you with whether we can hold off or not. So what they will do is they will fine you for anything that they see when they're walking. If they see anything that's out of place in their eyes, they could fine you.
Right. So if you have a known area that they're going to fix, like the walk and the pavement, it's a bad pavement, a sidewalk, don't take them that direction. Take them to the safest route as you can as possible. So yeah, very good points. So in summary, and things to consider too, like I said before, it's very crucial to have the investigation done as timely as possible. Make sure that your employee protections exist for reporting work related injuries, as well as protections for those that are tasked with investigating. We are all in this together, so it's risk management, maybe it should be one department, but you as managers are also part of that risk management team. So you're partnering together to work together to reduce injuries, to protect our own colleagues, and be a good administrator of a healthy and safe work environment. And we are there as well. So with ASCIP, our risk management department in Athens, all together we can assist to maybe help with those corrective actions and further processes if you do have a Cal OSHA visit. Last really big important part of this too, which we didn't mention, are near misses. There's a near miss here with incidents, and one near miss is really something that's an unplanned event but doesn't result in harm or injury. So you could have been coming down a ladder and you may have slipped and fallen, or you may have been on a roof and didn't have any fall protection and you slipped and you almost fell off, but you didn't. So there's a lot of different things. For every accident, there could be a lot of different near misses. So you have to be aware that those are also incidents that we want to kind of watch for. And then a thorough investigation, reporting, recording, all that, and as well as the corrective action follow-up is very important. And each accident incident can be a time-consuming process, but it's very important to put it together in order to make sure that we don't have any more accidents, don't have any reoccurrences, and we have to change some procedures. It's so important to make sure that we do all that to prevent any future injuries. Next slide. And then to pull it together.
I'm taking this over, Chuck.
Okay.
Thank you, Chuck.
You bet.
I'm going to, I know we're going a little bit over time, so I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank you for your time. We can do more trainings like this for you. So what I'm going to wrap the whole thing is how you manage and mitigate a good workers' comp program. Investigate all incidents and document corrective action, and more importantly, take care of fixing the problem, right? Don't just take down the investigating form and you find there was a hazard, get it fixed so somebody else doesn't get hurt. Thoroughly review each case. Remember I brought this up. You investigate, number one, you have to investigate an incident because it's Cal OSHA required. Number two, it's kind to the employee. And number three, we avoid abuse. If you've got a good investigating program going on as an employer, people think twice about filing a workers' comp claim that's fraudulent. And under the law, we have every right to review any claim that's abuse, that's abusing the system. The state's given us the right to do that. The state has also mandated for the third-party administrator, if there's any fraud, we have to report it to the Department of Insurance and the district attorney's office. That's law within 30 days of knowledge of fraud. And it is our duty to investigate and make sure that things are fixed. It's also required again by Cal OSHA, shows concern for the employees. Another point is when an employee returns to work, they should provide you with a work status. Can they come back to full work or is it modified work? That is also law. They should provide that to you. And then I will throw this in support. And if somebody comes back and says they cannot use, it's a modified job duty, that they cannot use that body part, but they can sit, but they can't stand for long. Accommodate, try to do your best to accommodate that employee, because that employee is productive, they heal better, and more importantly, you're getting your work done. And you will see this process going really well. And that's an early return to work program. And I can't stress the importance of maintaining close communication with risk department. Risk management is your hub of your wheel. They will help you, but if they don't know, they cannot help you. So communicate with them, share with them, give your ideas to them to work as a team. And the last slide. Safety isn't a slogan. I'm going to throw it out there. It's not a slogan. It's a way of life. It's the way we practice life when we go for hikes. It's the way we do when you drive a car. It's the way when we grocery shop. We all need to take care of each other and be in a safe environment, helping each other. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for giving me 10 minutes more. We welcome you, and any questions, you can always go to Tammy, or Tammy will get it to us, and we are going to get this presentation out to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time this morning. We'll send the presentation to you via district managers list. If you have any questions, like Nidra said, send it to Tammy. And if there is anything we can do to help you, please let us know. And with that, I want to thank you again for joining us this morning, and thank you for extra time that we took this morning.